Yo, 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 yo. What the fuck is up, fight fans? It's your man 3K the Boss, aka Mr. Two Hands Up. Five, five. You already know what it is, man. Happy motherfucking Taco Tuesday to everybody. Hope you get all your tacos and all of that good shit. But yeah, man, it's Reaper Gang Radio Volume 15, man. Shout out to motherfucking that NASA. Shout out to that NASA motherfucking right hand of Alexander Povetkin. And shout out to that first shot uppercut, man, that happened to derail Dillian Whyte's plans a little bit here, man. And considering March 27th is Build the Rumble on the Rock, though. The Rumble on the Rock, yeah. So we back at it, man. We back at it, man. Back to back to back. Back to back to back. The Zone is doing this thing. Back to back to back. What was it 2 weeks ago? El Gallo versus Chocolatito. What was it freaking last weekend? It was Victor Ortiz versus Maurice Hooker. And now we got the Rumble on the Rock, though. So, I'm pretty excited about this fight. Dillian Whyte been talking a lot of shit, man. And he really going to have to back that shit up. He's really going to have to back that shit up because in this situation, his nerves don't seem, he don't seem a little rattled, and that ain't his style. Dillian Whyte's never rattled, but at the same time, you got to understand that everything is on the line right now. Your WBC interim championship, there is no second chances. There is no chance of getting at this mandatory again. And I mean, considering that we are on the cusp of what could be the biggest heavyweight fight and possibly the biggest fight of all time, I'm talking about, financially, definitely financially. And just the energy around this heavyweight undisputed fight. We ain't seen one of these things in God knows how long. So Dillian Whyte must come through. He must come through. So, yeah, man. Yeah, I think that possibly could even generate nerves there with certain individuals, excuse me, who are usually unnerved. But regardless of whatever the fuck it is, man, I'm excited to see it, bro. I'm excited to see if Alexander Povetkin is going to come out and be able to win the round and not have to wait on one punch. But all in all, we know that it only takes one punch in the heavyweight division. So if Dillian Whyte want to consistently play around, get lackadaisical, get his head up in space again, throw out a lazy right hand, I believe it was, get clipped with that fucking uppercut and go straight to sleep. Shout out to NASA, shout out to Apollo 1 through fucking 11. He got on board all of them motherfuckers and orbited, what I'm saying, our planet, what I mean, and about 7 to 9 other motherfuckers. So at the end of the day, yo, you got to be on time, son, because look, at the end of the day, and look, another thing, real spill. I hope that Dillian Whyte is putting his advertisements on the bottom of his shoes this time, just in case. He should have had a couple of advertisers on the back end just to throw a couple extra advertisements on the bottom of his shoes just in case it go down, just so he could bring the big bag in on top of whatever his contract is. I'm just saying, no, I'm just talking a little shit. That's all. But yeah, man, I'm excited to see it, man. I think we all excited to see it. Blood boils when you getting good fights back to back, man. And I just think that I'm existing in a good world of boxing right now, and I'm truly appreciating it, man. And I'm hype as fuck. All of that good shit. All of that good shit. So shout out to everybody in the motherfucking building. Let's cook, man. We'll talk about it, man. Who's going to pull this thing out, man? Because there's no guarantee that Dillian Whyte will win it. If we look at the boxing lesson, and if I'm using the same thought process that I had with Anthony Joshua in the first fight with Andy Ruiz, I do feel like this is Dillian Whyte's fight to win. But once again, considering this is the heavyweight division, I do feel like this is Dillian Whyte's fight to lose. And I do feel like when you're poking the bear, the gentle giant chilling in hibernation, not bothering nobody else, just being, all gentle and friendly while he's just trudging through the fucking forest, just snoozing with his interim WBC belt. You continue to poke him. I believe that this individual is going to have something to go out there to prove. A little bit more than you, the guy with everything to lose. And that, my friend, That, my friend, wouldn't necessarily be a good look. So let me get to these shout outs, man. Dennis and Dare to TV, salute. Reaper Gang Gang, yeah, we in the building. George the Soul Survivor of the Apocalypse, man. Salute, man. What it do, man? Good morning, man. Timmy Nealon, salute my guy. Gabe Lopez, what it do? Ronald Finkley, appreciate you with the super chat, my guy. What's good with you? H Money, what it do, big dog? David Carr, salute. Yeah, man. Chen Smoke, what it do, Holmes? Yeah, man. Yeah, man. It's a lot on the line, man. But definitely, dog. If I was his agent, if I was responsible for any of the finances that have to do with Dillian Whyte, yeah, man, it's time to take out a couple ads on the bottom of them motherfucking boxing shoes, man. Time to take out a couple ads on them boxing shoes, baby. You never know when you might be looking at the canvas again, staring all the way up, looking out to the stars, seeing everything that's going on. Shit. Might be lucky enough to catch a falling star. Make a wish that you can wake up before 10 and the fight can continue all over again. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. Because when you go to sleep like that, you might want to put an investment in them Nikes, or better yet, them Virtuous from Italy. Them virtuosities, whatever the fuck they call. Put an investment in them shits. I don't want to see you fall. But if you do, bag a nigga up. That's all I'm saying. Just bag them up, man. Just bag them up. So I heard, I ain't watched the Better Be fight. I heard that shit didn't look impressive, man. Holla at me, man. What y'all think, man? Was that shit trash? WBC up to their bullshit again, trying to stop Dylan mandatory again. What? They doing that? They doing that? What's going on with that? Matter of fact, I got my computer right in front of me anyway. How they trying to stop the mandatory? Based on what? Gotta know. Dylan Whyte was overweight and sloppy. Let's see if he look, man, and that's the crazy thing. Dillian Whyte been overweight and sloppy in a couple of his fights. And then another thing that I don't like, I feel like when you already work well with a trainer, I feel like when it's not broke, you don't need to fix it. And considering that this man wanted to go out to Portugal with his dogs and didn't want to train with Mark Tibbs, brought in a new guy, what's his name, Xavier Miller. Like, he lost on his first showing with you, even though you got lackadaisy and lazy in the ring, kind of like your physique in your past couple of fights, you know. I mean, even though you took the Marius Walk fight on short notice, you know, you still should always be ready. I don't think it's ever a time where you should get too high in weight. I think you should always pay attention to that shit. And if that's going to be motherfucking, if that's Dillian Whyte's position going into this fight, if Dillian Whyte isn't the Dillian Whyte that's around, I believe what? Shit, around like shit. Anywhere between about no more than 255. I don't know, man. Might not be good. But I think that Dillian Whyte's real deadly when he lived behind that jab, though. Dillian Whyte staying behind that jab is always a good look, though. As long as he stay behind that jab and stay focused and don't go to fucking sleep, man, he should be all right. At the times he is not focusing, the time he goes to sleep at the wheel, you can see he has problems. He had a big problem with Marius Walk. I know Marius Walk is a tall specimen, but you had problems. Hey, man, Sasha Povetkin ain't no pushover, man. He's always giving guys hell. And the best of guys hell. Shit, he even gave AJ hell for quite a few rounds. So if you don't think that he can go in there and present you with those problems this go round, who knows what it was last go round? Shit, just like you saying it could have been something with, yo, there ain't no excuses. But at the end of the day, knowing fighters aren't ever in a position where they can make excuses. Who knows what was going on with Sasha in that fight? You the A side. You can twerk it however you want to twerk it. So you always got the upper hand. So who knows what was going on with him leading up to the fight? So I'm just saying, you don't know if you didn't get the best Povetkin when you were in that fight. So you might want to be a little bit mindful of that. I don't think it's. He should have stuck with Mark. In my opinion, fuck, I just bit the fuck out of my tongue. He should have stuck with motherfucking Mark Tibbs, man. Everything when it, man, look, man, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, Jack. But he had a little bit of time now. You know, when you're applying all of this pressure and you talking all of this shit, you got to come through and you got to execute. There ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There ain't no excuses. And if he, you know what I'm saying, and I'm sure he's paying attention to how you operating. And with the way that, you know, and with the way Alexander fights in the style that he brings in this situation, there ain't no, it's no guarantee that he can't weave up underneath that motherfucking jab again, find your fucking chin and put you right back on the canvas. Once again, sneaker advertisement should be available for this fight. So call them bitches soul searchers. So DILLIAN Whyte isn't always been the most hyper impressive fighter in the heavyweight division. I feel like he's the guy who lacks in the area when it just comes to more natural ability, more fluent ability when it comes to other fighters in that division. He's always been the guy that's been a little bit more rough and rugged and always had to do it, you know, the tougher way, always had to walk the tougher line. So, you know, for those reasons of being battle hardened, he always stands a good chance. But stylistically, DILLIAN Whyte hasn't always presented, I mean, the toughest equation for any other heavyweight boxer to figure out. So for a guy that is experienced, taking in consideration up in age, shit, still, smack doesn't go nowhere. So that doesn't mean that he can't find his chin. So DILLIAN Whyte just needs to stay hyper focused, mad focused. And if he doesn't, well, we all know how that story gonna go. We all know how it's gonna go. So he's just gonna have to do what the fuck he gotta do, man. And ain't no excuses. Y'all already know how I rock. Y'all know how I rock. I keep it 1,000. Ain't never no excuses in my book. So if this nigga get knocked the fuck out again, yo, that's a good question too. What the fuck if DILLIAN Whyte gets knocked out? What if he get knocked out though? Son got a lot to lose, man. Where does DILLIAN Whyte go? Where does DILLIAN Whyte go from here after he gets knocked out and Alexander Povetkin get moved up? He losing money in the account, and he damn sure gonna fall deep in the rankings. So how does he pick himself back up and put himself back in the title contention? He can't, like, yo, this nigga's the definition of I cannot afford to lose right now. He might be on that, yo. It might be another Derek Chisora versus DILLIAN Whyte. If motherfucking DILLIAN Whyte lose this shit, Derek Chisora got another shot at it come up, man. Shout out to Chisora, man. Derek Chisora, low-key got a shot at it come up right now. How the fuck does this nigga do this shit, man? That nigga Chisora always find a way. But anyway, yeah, man. DILLIAN Whyte, where the fuck does he go if he falls? All of that cocky shit, all of that shit you said about what Povetkin was doing, trying to buy time, you know, all of the bullshit about him faking on the COVID and all of that shit, man. Yeah, you sounding real good in the media, but I'm just saying, if you lose though, where the fuck can you go from here? Man. When you right at the edge of the top, again, everything you ever fucking wanted, it's right in front of you, and it all can be taken away from you again in one shot. And the thought of mind when it comes to boxing is anytime a fighter gets knocked out, he's never the same again. So does that apply to DILLIAN Whyte as well? Because we don't know a conditionally speaking, we don't know how DILLIAN Whyte is. We don't know how apprehensive DILLIAN Whyte is going to be throwing punches, how apprehensive he is to throw a punch when he gets in the ring. I'm just saying, does that same thought of mine when it comes to every other boxer, especially when they were right on the cusp of getting all of the shit that they campaigned for what, 1,000 days? Does that same shit apply to him? In some form or facet, I would have to say that it probably does. And those are some of the things that, you know what I'm saying, could possibly hinder your boy stylistically when it comes to the fight. Once again, not saying that Dillian Whyte is the toughest fucking code to crack in the heavyweight division. He got a hell of a lot of heart, but I'm just saying, when you get knocked out like that, ain't there some shit you need to be worried about? Because for me, I'm sorry, yo. I'm as truthful as they come. If a nigga cleaned out my colon like that, no Metamucil needed, yo, an immediate rematch would be something I'm going, yeah. I would have my apprehensions, but of course, you know, warriors want to get it back. Warriors want to get it back, but we human beings, we question ourselves too. We do have the tendency to do that because we only humans, right? So who's to say Dillian Whyte is 100% spiffy and everywhere he needs to be going into this fight? Once again, going back to Dillian Whyte does have, you know, he does like to come in a little out of shape sometimes, considering he was just knocked the fuck out. Regardless of whether you want to make excuses of saying the ref was about to call it or whatever, yo, that's not what happened. You were on your backside on the floor and somebody had to push your head up inside the ropes. A nigga had to push your head and your shoulders up inside of the ropes. So you got to be all the way ready. And I'm not taking no shots at Dillian Whyte. We just speaking on what the facts are. So what I'm saying is, man, you fuck all the talking, bro. Nigga, you fighting in Gibraltar. Nigga, the rumble on the rock. And you got rocked. So you need to come back. You need to come back, leave no stones unturned. I don't give a fuck how spectacular it is or whatever. What's his coach? We don't know his coach tendencies like that. I don't never know this nigga to you know, I ain't never known him to have a champion, anybody like that. I believe he did work with Derek Chisora at one point in time. Ain't it strange how the fucking world, everything in the world comes full circle? The person, you know, you was in the ring beating up on is the same person, you know, who used to work the corner of the person you was beating up on. Now he working with you. And you leave Mark Tibbs for him. Shit. Not saying that was happening at that time, and I'm not 100 on that, but I do believe somewhere that I read when I was looking up this individual that I think he was working with Derek Chisora. At one point in time, I could be wrong. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong about that. Beyond the fall in the ring, I think the fall in this fight could be much harder. It could be much longer, and you know, really there ain't gonna be no room for a Dillian Whyte conversation. Pretty much, if he loses to an Alexander Povetkin up on the scale when it comes to the when it comes to the top tier, he's in the top tier. But when it comes to the top tier, I believe that Alexander Povetkin will possibly knock him out of that top tier conversation where people are going to be talking about mentioning him, going at Anthony Joshua, mentioning him. Well, there's a storyline there for a third fight, but yet and still mentioning him in any form of that shit ever happening, especially when once again we're on the cusp of two Fury and Joshua fights. So he doesn't fit anywhere in that conversation. And he's not one of those guys that can get fights that are going to necessarily propel him right back in that spot, considering the fact that other fighters already know the kind of danger that Dillian Whyte presents. So it puts him in an awkward position if he loses here. So it's a lot to look at. And the more and more I talk about it, the more I start thinking of all of the other things that could possibly affect him if he does fall in this situation. So you got to win. 2 times. What do you think about Tank? Tank facing 7 years in jail for a hit and run. Yo, I heard about that shit. I heard about that shit, but I don't really know the story around it. But look, man, this is just a story of Tank Davis and none of the people that's supposed to be around him, older than him, that's in his inner circle and shit like that, not saving them from all of the bullshit that he's doing. I mean, let's get it. Let's put it all in perspective here. Tank Davis just got caught up with just caught up beating the girl at the University of Miami, yo, last summer. I believe it was last summer. You was just at the University of Miami or something like that, putting the fucking Ike Taylor style beats on whoever your Tina Turner was at that time. These are all facts. And now the fact that, you know what I mean, then like right before that or after that, you get caught up with Floyd girl, you up against the fucking up against the bus messing around with her. So you was just in that position. So if we look at Tank Davis, and I heard like some shit like he did some grimy shit with some strippers, some shit like that. And not only that, you ran off on the deal out in Philly. It was either Philly or Detroit. You ran out of on the dealer or the Philly the ice dealer in Philly or Detroit. You gave him a phony check or some shit like that. Didn't pay him for the ice that you got on consignment. So Tank Davis is known for putting himself in mad positions and potentially felonious positions. So if a hit and run is on the list of another one of the things that Tank Davis did wrong, first of all, Tank Davis ain't a big enough star. You know, all of the prominent people in the world don't love Floyd Mayweather enough and his money enough to where he can bail Tank out of Tank in his situations. Floyd Mayweather was never looked at as one of those people that was very loved, and it come to the public eye or into the judicial system. He don't hold a lot of favor, especially with this whole movement, with the whole Me Too and all of these women and shit going on like that, and Tank Davis and all of his other activity. Nah, that shit, Tank gonna be fucked up. Tank gonna be fucked up, and Tank gonna lose a majority of his prime if Tank is put in a position like that. So I wouldn't like to see Tank, you know, hey, I don't like, look, man, I know what it feels like to sit down. I know what it feels like to be in a bad position. So would I want to see Tank in a position like that? Absolutely not. But if a nigga got to sit down due to the stupid shit that you continuously choose to do, because it seems like you have a reoccurring trend of doing stupid shit on top of stupid shit on top of stupid shit, one after another. It just happens to be a domino effect with Tank, just stupid shit, just a domino effect of stupid shit. That just happens to be what Tank Davis does. So if that's the fucking case, Tank just fucked up, man. He just fucked up, and I'm not sympathetic towards it. Because what about the victim, though? Well, you know, I don't wish jail time to anybody. It's not on me to judge that man. But I don't wish jail time anything of that nature on any man. But at the same time, you got to look at it for what it is, yo. Like if Tank Davis potentially harmed somebody and ran off from the motherfucking scene of the accident, and you wasn't even accountable to stand up and man up for that shit, man, you deserve everything that's coming to you, Shalem, because we have a tendency to forget about the victims when it comes to everybody with that that has a name and or a certain status, celebrity status when it comes to society, man. We all know, man, 2 hands for the people, man. So, you know, if there's a victim involved, I hope them people are all right. And at the end of the day, Tank, you know what I'm saying, you didn't stand up for when, you know, you didn't stand up and you ran off. You could have weathered this storm by doing the right shit and not skirting off if you skirted off allegedly like they saying that you did. So what does this mean for Tank? What has this always meant for Tank? If we look at the reoccurring behavior for Tank, continuous slaps on the wrist, and nobody putting Tank Davis in the place or the position that Tank Davis needs to be in ever in his fucking life, ever in his life. This is bigger than boxing, man. He's just a boxer in the game. But this is bigger than that shit. We got to look at all of this individual flaws. We got to look at all of this fucking Ferrari, all of this Lamborghini riding, all of this fucking ice you running out on, all of these strippers you fucking busting down, the girls that you beating up at fucking schools and shit like that. We got to look at all of these things, compact that behavior, put it in one, and then compact it all in the souls and in the being of one individual. And how do you treat that? And how do you make this motherfucker become beyond that so he probably can be something beneficial with a cleaner mind and a cleaner body where he can do better for boxing? Because if he's doing this shit outside of boxing, it probably lends credence to all of the fucked up shit that he does in boxing right now. And maybe if, you know what I'm saying, people can help him curb that instead of standing behind this nigga smiling, laughing, and giggling, watching him kiss niggas in the mouth and do all types of dummy shit while he at that type of behavior at the club, then maybe somebody will be able to save this boy, man, because clearly he ain't saving himself from himself. And we all know that giving a young nigga money who ain't never had nothing, that's a quick way to crash and burn, man. I tell niggas all the time that boxing and a youngster don't matter what color or what walk of life you come from, unless you had it like that before. But fame a whole different monster. You know what I'm saying? Because beyond money, you got fame too. Now that's a whole different drug. You combine all of that shit, bro, that's a recipe for disaster to get you fucked all the way up. And you looking at an individual who's been fucked all the way up, and nobody pulled him all the way the fuck up. I don't know. And you got so many yes men in this fucking community, bro. You got so many people with their tribalism and they thought process and shit like that that'll sit up there and just never speak on the errors in his ways because they want to talk to the motherfucker instead of talk to the motherfucker. So then he could talk for you with his fist and then he could represent the game right. But y'all don't want to talk to the motherfucker so he can talk right. So when you don't do that, you get a whole bunch of people condoning the type of shit that he do. And then if it's all in the money team, it ain't all in the antics, yo, because one thing, regardless of whatever people might try to make of whatever the money team is, whatever you think TBE is, whatever you think of the Mayweather school of training, school of thought is, man, you talking about a nigga, man, who went to the strip club and he jogged from that motherfucker when he left, man. I ain't never seen Tank do no shit like that. I ain't never seen Tank show no dedication like that. Yo, you got to be a different type of mad scientist to motherfucker want to do some shit like that after you throwing it up. You know what type of mentally strong motherfucker you got to be to want to do some shit like that after you at the strip club throwing it up. Most men can't break themselves from that shit, especially if they got that type of money. They probably gonna bring the stripper with them and do the damn thing. You feel what I'm saying? Not to leave from the motherfucking jog from the strip club. Most niggas trying to leave from the strip club and jog into some pussy. Take one feel and then make it feel what it's supposed to feel like. You feel me? I ain't never seen Tank Davis do no shit like that. So what I'm saying is the mind state is different. So whatever people think about TBE, you can't even really put Tank Davis at whatever Tank Davis took from that. Fuck what the world took from that. He took all of the wrong parts from it, and this is why you get what you get, yo. Real spill, man. Shout out to George with the super chat. He says if Dylan wins, he becomes our generation's Ken Norton. As only without the Hall of Fame wins, he loses. At least you can't say he ducked anyone. In fact, most people ducked him until he lost. Absolutely. That's why, for me, it's such a shame that DILLIAN Whyte has to be, unfortunately, he has to take a back seat to two other individuals shine. But at the end of the day, when it comes to that individual, he just so happens to be one of them dudes who just have to get it the rough and rugged way. He just has to get it the rough and rugged way. So unfortunately, he's never going to be able to. He always going to be that guy who he's never going to get the fights that's going to put him in position. So if he loses this fight, he ain't going to be able to get thrown back in no championship run. He going to have to work a lot harder to get there. And it's just like, unfortunately, he take a back seat to Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. So he got to work 10 times harder. When those other individuals, not speaking for Anthony Joshua, but Tyson Fury, he can come back and fight a Deontay Wilder and 3 freaking scrubs. He can fight a whole bunch of scrubs, fight Deontay Wilder and get right back into $100 million payday. DILLIAN Whyte's been fighting the Oscar Reeveses. DILLIAN Whyte's been fighting. He's been fighting the Joseph Parkers. He's just been constantly having to fight in gauntlet match after gauntlet match and not turn down any matches. So, it's just, it just, unfortunately, it just sucks that just has to be DILLIAN Whyte's story. And that has to be one of the things that, hinders Dillian Whyte career path because he had to. We already had to. We had to view the fact that he's had to work so hard to get into the point that he's gotten. Just to see him get knocked out, we all was just like, say it ain't so, bro. You just had to work 1,000 days plus just to get in this mandatory position. So for him, that's why I keep stressing that, yo, this man's not in a position to lose at all. He can't lose. If he loses, son gonna fall short. Appreciate you with the super chat, D Jeff. Let me throw this invite in here in case anybody want to speak on anything before I get up out of here at the hour. It's like it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, you know, that politics play a major factor in boxing because the politics shouldn't have prevented him from being in the position he was in this far. But yo, due to even though the politics being what they were, man, he didn't seize the moment, man. So he's got the opportunity to do it now, and he's gotta seize it, man. He gotta come out there and he's gotta make all of the right moves. He has to make all of the right moves. I would like to hope and think and believe that he's gonna make all of the right moves when it comes to the 27th. But bro, but once again, Povetkin ain't no slouch, and Povetkin got one of them kind of styles to where I mean, Dillian Whyte got one of them styles to where, hey, if you got a second look at it, and if you watching a lot of tape, and if you feeling some type of way about all of the things that the things that Dillian Whyte was saying too, yo, you can come out there and make it look way better than what it did the first fight as well. I mean, this is 100% a 50-50 fight. Yeah, don't feel sorry for Spence at all, fam. If man's kills himself, that's on him. Dutton Crawford till this day. Man, look, the crazy thing is, man, a lot of these dudes is ducking. Man, it's nice as shit out this joint, man. Birds chirping, breezy and shit. A lot of these dudes is ducking. A lot of these dudes is ducking, and that's the big problem with boxing. But if you know, we get more Virgil Ortiz, more Maurice Hookers, man. I mean, like I said, man, we got a lot of young talent buzzing through the pipeline, man. But the way this young talent is looking at the way the other dude, the older dudes is moving, man, I don't think they really looking at how Canelo Alvarez or how Manny Pacquiao or Anthony Joshua moving. I think they looking at all of the money and stuff them boys is getting, and they trying to figure out a certain way of how they can get that check or whatever the wrong type of teachings they took. They all took from what drive, you know what I mean? They didn't take from what drive the success. They taking from the success right now because it seemed like a lot of people trying to avoid challenges. I've just never been subjected to an era where it just seems like it's the okay thing to do. You know what I mean? That's what just baffles my mind because like we like real rap live in an era where it's like, yo, it is the most okay thing to do, and it is the one of the most defendable things to do is defend a ducker. Like for real. Like put a cape on, the fans put a cape on, like, yo, it's so okay to defend ducking, yo, in this day and age where we have more cameras, we have more proof to follow these dudes around in their personal lives. We watch their every move, everything they say is put right in front of us, set right in stone for us to visually go back and look at anytime we want. We watch all of these dudes' videos time and time again. With all of this technology, we can catch these dudes in contradiction all of the time. It is the craziest thing in the world to me that with all of the technology to hold people accountable, we choose not to hold people accountable. Boxing doesn't choose to hold people accountable. So you get a cesspool of ducking, you get a cesspool of soft, sherbet flavored ice cream, man, type activity, man. I've just never, I'm just so shocked, bro, because no matter how many weeks, months, and years go on, this is still new to me because boxing hasn't been subjected to this shit for a century. Fucking decades, man. Think about it. Think about it. This is the first time. This is the first time to where this shit is, it's the cool thing to do. It's the fashionable thing to do. Weasel your way up out of shit. Now, I ain't hating on a nigga that's going to get his money. I'm not hating on a person that's going to go out there and try to make an easy living for themselves. But I'm just saying, bruh, posing is posing. Now, when you look up and you look around you, you start to realize that you got more poses than you do fighters. Because then when you accurately assess them, you like, damn, this dude didn't fight nobody. And the fans ain't even thinking like, yo, maybe I gave this dude too much credit, so I shouldn't give this dude too much credit no more. It's like when you fool me once, shame on you. But when you fool me twice, shame on me. You fool me 3 times, I'm just a dumb motherfucking specimen, bro. So are we all dumb motherfucking specimen out here? Because I mean, it's a lot of these dudes that have showed chinks in their armor on a few occasions, and people will still put on their cape to protect who ducks who ducking what. It's just crazy to me. It's baffling. Slim, I ain't the oldest nigga in the world, but still, it still trips me out. So I could only imagine somebody 10 years older than me, 20 years older than me, that really can tell you about what the golden era was really, really, really like visually, without having to go back and watch it on replay. I can't even imagine how they cringe, because I cringed on the highest level, because it's a whole lot of fronting going on. Yo, Gates is up everywhere. Bumper Street, these niggas is neighbors, and they got hella gates up, impenetrable joints. You can't even see through they shit. Across the street, you right next to me. We in the same division. Across the street is when you like a division or 2 up. In my mind, that's how I would compute it. The way I love boxing, I don't look at across the street as somebody who in the same division campaigning as me. That's free smoke. Blood in, blood out. Dog eat dog. When I think of fighters who are supposed to say, yo, you can't call yourself a professional fighter, Slim. You can't call yourself a professional fighter if you're not even willing to fight the top tiers that's around you. If you got more excuses, then you got jabs logged in your whole freaking career, Slim. That's something wrong with that. There's something highly wrong with that. And it's a lot of dudes that got more excuses than they got jabs logged against credible opponents. So it's like, yo, don't say we underevaluate boxing. Don't say we underappreciate it. Because nah, I'm here to tell y'all, that's not it. We don't underappreciate it. We don't undervalue it. No, they undervalue us. They give us wet work all the time, watered down, some shit that you don't want to see. You've seen the same thing over and over and over again. No matter how many people they switch in there, if it ain't 50-50, it's the same. I don't care if it's from your favorite fighter to your weakest fighter. And I was just talking to somebody on the phone about this stuff too. I said, yo, boxing fans need to be fans of momentum, Slim. You should be fans of momentum. You should be fans of the integrity of the sport. Because if you stop being fans of the fighters, you wouldn't be disappointed. Because if you demand all of the same stuff from every fighter, then every fighter gets held accountable, and then you get the fights that you want, bro. Like, okay, I'm going to take it to some Hollywood shit. Now, we know if anybody got HBO Max, you know they just put out a Justice League movie, the Snyder Cut. The dude, Zack Snyder, who was originally supposed to direct the movie, who did Watchmen with Frank Miller, stuff like that. They chopped it down. His daughter committed suicide, stuff like that. He broke away from the movie. Josh Wendy chopped it down or whatever. The movie was horrible. People ragged on it. It was like an all-time horrible movie. It was like it was just terrible. So the people, I'm talking the people, campaign, they kept hashtagging, man, bring out the Snyder Cut. We want the Snyder Cut. This and that, over and over again. People was flying banners on their own time, going overhead. Zack Snyder was seeing this. That stuff fueled him to want to come back to it. So what I'm saying is, if that shit can make HBO and that can make the directors over at WB get back and make the Snyder Cut so he can put out the 4 hour and 2 minute original that man made, and the joint was fire. It was what it was supposed to be. Not that bullshit that they chopped down. You could get the Snyder Cut in boxing, bro. Boxing don't have to be the Josh Whedon cut down version. You can get the Snyder Cut too, fam. But you got to demand it. Because if you demand it from the boxers, then the media demands it from them. Because the media will only try to push a narrative as long as people hang on to it. When they realize the powers of the people outweigh the narrative, they let it go. But when they know the narrative is outweighing what really needs to be the heartbeats need in boxing, which is great fights, they just gonna keep pushing it to the back. They gonna keep pushing it to the back. They ain't gonna care about that shit. It's gonna be like being a Vietnam vet trying to get some work at the VA right when that shit opened up and some shit like that. Your files just getting stacked up, stacked up, stacked up. But if you make that shit to where the narratives, where all momentum outweigh the narrative, then they're gonna talk about that shit y'all want to talk about. They gonna talk that Errol Spence Crawford shit. They gonna make them boys get in the ring. The cowardice that certain people are presenting, they're gonna put that shit in the media. And hey, ain't shit you can do then, because when the media turns on you, they turn on you. And they usually turn on you when some shit that they'll consider toxic to media, it ain't really toxic. It's just the truth. And they just mad that the narrative ain't working, so they'll call the shit toxic. Yeah, start to override they bullshit. So motherfuckers just got to get to it. Hey, look, man, I'm more than willing to motherfucker. I think it's a collective, yo. Everybody got to do their motherfucking job instead of stop trying to fight for favoritism, fight for what they want, or a certain group of fighters or a color of fighters. Because, yo, if the fights is some shit, if niggas is not fighting, we all losing. All we doing is talking about some stuff that we ain't never going to see. I just, for one, just ain't choosing to do that shit no more. On God. On God. It's draining, bro. Like real rap. If I argue with everybody about everything I felt was wrong in boxing, and all of the fans and all of the content creators who do weird fugazi stuff in the sport, man, look, man, 24 hours couldn't hold me. I'd be dead. I'd be dead in the morning of the 25th. I swear to God. I remember saying, Aaron saying, Al Heyman wants to make Crawford versus Spence, so it has to be Spence and his team that don't want it. But I believe Al don't want it because if Spence loses, PBC is done. And see, that's the big problem. See, I don't know if Floyd Mayweather and all of his ability scared motherfucker Al Heyman into believing that, you know what I'm saying, if a fighter loses, that he loses everything. Or I don't know, you know, because they put so much of a campaign around Floyd Mayweather's undisputed mark being a selling point, and everybody trying to go and break it, and that putting fans in the seats. I don't know if that may be it or whatever. But yo, you got to lose the thought. You got to lose all thoughts of if a fighter loses, he's done, because that is so far from the truth. I think that's a big portion to do with it as well. But at the same time, I think that if you understood that if it's a fighter fighting the right fight, the fighter will never be done. Because regardless of whatever's going on, if you've got two fighters at the top of their craft, they're never going to present you a boring fight. Whether it's fucking 5 rounds or it goes the whole 12. Even until knockout, that shit is going to be explosive. It's going to be fireworks, and the people going to respect it, because you got more respect for a person losing to somebody who you know is a real killer, opposed to that person losing to somebody who is just unforgivable, bro. Like all you can do is pretty much question all the decisions they've made up to that point. And that's what it's come down to a lot of fighters that they try to put that type of advertisement into. A lot of them dudes caught L's to a lot of veterans that was on the PBC side of the street, and a lot of up and comers that wasn't willing to lay down and die, and they just didn't get a lot of good looks in the ring because they didn't take time to exercise their experience with the type of opponents they should have 5, 6, 7, 8 fights ago. They've gotten so comfortable at living off of, hey, I'm comfortable with taking a stipend from Uncle Al. I'm going to go ahead and look good. I'm going to do everything that this guy tells me, contrary to whether it feels right or wrong in my gut, heart, and soul, or whatever, to where I could really do more for my career. I'm just going to do everything this dude want me to do. And even when you see it's not working, I'm still just going to go ahead and follow the plan. That means because you must be comfortable with being a poser. That's the only thing that I can make of it. if you not screaming to the top of your lungs like, yo, you gotta fight for what you want, yo. And if I don't see boxers fighting for their own career, saying that they want to wreak havoc with other dudes and shit and certain shit holding them back, how can I believe it? Because shit, yeah, you like boxing been the one place where you can vocalize motherfuckers holding you back when it comes to you wanting to get big fights, whether it was fighter, whether it was promoter, or you know what I'm saying, people even exposing offers. I mean, let's be serious now. Boxing is one of the most scandalous motherfucking sports, consistent, you know what I'm saying, of the most corrupt of the underworld. Always having his fingers involved in it. I mean, people always talk their shit, whether it was in news meetings at the end of fights or whatever. You always had the ability to speak a little bit more freely in boxing than you do other sports because you're not hindered by other things. So my thing is the ability to make shit happen. You have the freedom to make things happen a lot more in boxing. The niggas just, man, look. So I'm sorry. I'm just gonna have to exercise my tongue a little bit more. Pause. I'm gonna have to speak my motherfucking mind. I ain't just gonna let nobody just sideline my career where I sit around and do bitch shit when I know I'm fighting some bloated underclassman, some bloated dude that shouldn't even be here, some 50-year-old dude that they just grabbed up off the fucking couch from drinking coffee, fresh up out his fucking robes, huffing fucking 8,000 Marlboros or some shit like that. I'm not gonna go for it. I would expect a lot more than that, and that ain't cool. And that's what it seemed to be. I see a level of comfort that people don't want to disconnect from. It's kind of like a baby and shit like that. Shit, that motherfucker don't want to let that motherfucking passy go until you motherfucking break that shit. These promoters gonna have to break it, or a fighter is gonna have to break from promoter in traditional fashion. And we all know how that go. Set it off. Period. I think niggas is comfortable, real comfortable with coddling the titty, man. Look at them. Look at them. These niggas is not jumping in no danger. These niggas ain't running head. They not running motherfucking. They not running straight in the ring to no danger. Look at it, man. I'm telling you, nobody can tell me with a straight face that after Jamal Charlo fought Sergey Derevyanchenko, he didn't leave that fucking fight feeling like that, like a bitch that just caught her first orgasm or something like that. Like he was so happy to make it through that motherfucking test. The only difference is, man, he ain't want that hoe again. He don't want the same smoke no more. He want to go back to an easy lifestyle. Just got in there with a real one, about to take his ass back, about to go right back down Easy Street again. That's what it seemed like. Because after that fight, I'm telling you, he thought he was in the greatest test of his fucking life, truly, in which it was. Outside of being surprised by Matt Korobov. This dude didn't have the type of integrity of a fighter that's like, yo, I'm ready for the world. He had the type of look in his face and the type of words that came out of his mouth to let me know that was like, yo, I felt like I seen it all. I did it all. Y'all ain't gonna get me to go. Y'all ain't gonna get me going past this level right here. Not unless Triple G about 42 and that nigga coming to the ring with a cane or some shit like that. Absolutely. They already millionaires in silk sheets. That's a fact. They already in a position to where they coming into the game and they don't have to work too hard for it. They getting cut six-figure signing bonuses. You know what I mean? These dudes is getting $1 million fights and they, you know what I'm saying, from anywhere between $500,000 fights and they fucking 12, 13, 14, 15 fight. These dudes, man, look, a lot of dudes, man, because you gotta think, a lot of these individuals spar each other too, man. So it's like, I think I look at that shit too, and I'm like, yo, I know y'all motherfuckers done sparred each other, you know what I'm saying, quite a lot, man. It's a reason some of y'all motherfuckers be wanting to stay away from y'all certain motherfuckers too, man. Y'all comfortable with like, yo, hey man, I take the number seven on down. Keep me number seven on down so I can make a nice little decent chunk of change and let's exist in the world here. That way we survive. And I'm sure you got a manager that's right behind them. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. Look, we ain't gotta rush up to number 3 or number 2 or number 1. Let's just keep it somewhere around 7 to 10. 7 to 10. You know what I mean? We can survive right here. You know what I mean? We'll cash out, get a little 500,000. Something like that, you know what I mean? We good, depending on what division they in. But some of them people, whatever the money is, because look, fame is different for every for everybody, you know what I mean? So some dudes might look at it like, okay, I'm comfortable here making 6 figures. This person might be comfortable scraping 7. You got another dude that won it all. And we know the fighters that want it all because they willing to fight anybody and they want to seize it all. But you know, it really looks to me like there's a few fighters out here that are comfortable with saying, yo, I'll hang out around like seven to the top 15, top 20, because in that way, you know what I mean? I'm overshadowing all the shit that I don't want to do while I'm getting paid and I'm kind of coasting for real. Not saying 7 to 20 is a coast or whatever, but I'm saying, you know what I mean? Certain dudes not really full throttle about having a challenge. They feel like they challenge themselves enough. Some dudes just comfortable with just making a living. I feel like a lot of PBC fighters and certain other fighters, they comfortable with just making a living. Like a lot of these dudes, they do get in it to make a living, but some of these niggas is like comfortable with lying about wanting to be great, just making a living skating through the sport, bro. There ain't no secret about that. There ain't no secret about that shit, man. Oh shit. Salute. Appreciate you, Brody. Boxing Lodges United with the super chat. He said the last 2 weeks teams that pulled their fighters from going against Lil Eric. Shake my damn head. This crap is tripling down to the 13-year-old amateurs with Triple G for real. Man, look, man. I can't explain it, dog. I can't explain it, bro. That's why like it's starting to sound redundant, me saying it week to week now on Reaper Gang Radio. But it's like, yo, realistically, man, all we can do is just talk about the shit that's factual in the sport, fam, and continuing to show nothing but enthusiasm and as much respect in that regard as possible. Because it's just like, yo, the shit that's not real, the fucking the we know this shit that's not real, man. Them conversations shouldn't even be brought up no more, man. If it ain't meant to kill them, shouldn't even talk about them, dog. Because it's just like we see what's going on, and the shit I don't see it changing. The only way I know how to change that shit, man, is just to not pay that shit no mind, man. Because it's just like, man, I'm gonna big up the real shit that's going on, and to all of the, you know, the redundant shit that's going on that has to do with the nature of this sport right now, man. I'm just leaving that to the local yokels that want to sit and fucking just argue about that shit like a bunch of bitches all day, because this shit is turning into some real beauty shop, get your motherfucking French tip, Manny and Petty kind of talk going on in this community, bro. And I don't want no parts of it. I'm done with it. I don't want no parts of the shit, man. That's a fact though, man. But I hope everybody, you know what I'm saying, good. Have a wonderful motherfucking day, man. I'm about to close this shit out. I got some shit to do. As we always say at the end of this shit, it costs you nothing. Pay a nigga no mind. Just look, man. Just continue to pay attention to the real, man, and don't give a fuck about the fake shit that's going on in the sport, bro. But once again, it takes a collective, man. It's always going to take a collective. Motherfuckers just got to get their mind right. Respect.